Myths and Fables is a compilation of stories told within the Star Wars universe. As such, they can't be considered to be fully quote-unquote true. But as Ahsoka once said, there is always a bit of truth in legends. So today I'm going to go through the stories and just guess at what I think might be real. In the first story, Obi-Wan fights a dragon named Crate to save a village of Tusken Raiders, but he also warns them to stop attacking nearby settlements, or else he'll send the dragon after them once more. The story is told like it's very larger than life with an epic battle, and I think it's probably meant to be a tale passed around by the Sand People. It provides a reason for Obi-Wan to be paired with the Krayt Dragon Roar in A New Hope, and cause for the Tusken Raiders to flee in terror. This clashes a bit with some stuff you can read in from a certain point of view, but that's fine, considering the nature of Myths and Fables. I think it's at least very possible that Obi-Wan could have helped solve a problem with the Krayt Dragon, and then struck some fear into the hearts of the Tusken Raiders. Maybe they were two separate events, and then over time, the legend got molded into one story. In the second tale, a tactical droid defies General Grievous's orders to save droid lives and is killed for it. This could easily go either way for me. Nothing in that story screamed impossible. Grievous treated his army terribly, and we've seen that droid sentience is a thing through many Star Wars stories at this point. I could actually see this being a droid-specific legend, maybe perpetrated by the droid Gotra to help other droids realize that programming does not dictate purpose and that they can create their own destinies. The third story was about the two species of Glianselm, in which the Anselmi get a little too big for their britches and they upset the natural balance of things until the sea god exacts vengeance upon them. Legend stories speak of strife between the Anselmi and Nautolan people, so I think that probably did happen. And then the Anselmi probably came on hard times, but I doubt it was the doing of the sea god. I couldn't find any legend mention of the religions of Glianselm, so then I thought, what if this is a cautionary tale told by the Nautolans? They were painted in a very favorable light in this story, and the Anselmi were the only ones doing any wrong. Maybe there was a war won by the Nautolan people, and this is just their version of the history of their planet. That sounds pretty plausible to me. In story number 4, the city of Solace on the planet Sorosha has a number of tales about a wandering warrior who would appear when they were in need. Their city would fall under peril, and the wanderer would come to save them with his glowing sword. It sounds to me like they didn't have any knowledge of the Jedi or the greater galaxy. I think it's likely that all of their legends were told over the course of decades or centuries, and different Jedi would arrive to their planet to provide aid when the Force called them there. But those events were transformed into one great hero the people of Solace could look to for hope. And we'll come back to this later. Number 5 was an interesting one. Based on some context, I think this actually might be the story that's furthest down the timeline in all of Star Wars so far. It mentions workers on Sokka's homestead on Batuu, but Sokka is long dead. However, he is alive at the time of Galaxy's Edge, which is after The Last Jedi. So if I'm reading it all right, we're jumping ahead a number of years. So now it becomes completely impossible to say if anything is real or not because I don't have much context. But the story was credible. It was about a group of children who are kidnapped by slavers on Batuu who are then saved by their youngest sister. Yeah, sure, I can accept that. The sixth story was my favorite one, about a Sith Lord named Darth Kaldoth. It's basically about how he trained up his apprentice who wound up being unable to outsmart and kill his master. It took place very long ago, before the time of the Clone Wars or any of the films. It says at that time the Sith homeworld Moraband was still known as Korriban. That name has been hinted at since the Star Wars Legends split, but I believe this is its first use in an actual story in the new canon, even if it is an in-universe myth. I'll happily accept that as true. We get to see some Sith apprentice training, which involves gladiatorial combat for 7 years, a week-long vision quest similar to the one Ezra goes on in Star Wars Rebels, and the bleeding of a lightsaber crystal of a fallen Jedi. We also saw the apprentice's recruitment as a child, where Kaldoth simply asked his parents for him, like we've seen the Jedi do, so that was interesting. In the end, the apprentice attempts to use a Sith spell to turn Kaldoth to stone, but it backfires, and the apprentice is petrified on Korriban instead. I think the idea that there is this grim statue on Korriban makes sense, and then someone made up a story as to how and why it got there. I don't know if anything with Darth Kaldoth is true, but I like a lot of the details of that story, specifically about Sith training. They fit in with what we already know, so I think we can count that as real. In Story 7, a group of pirates attempt to hide their treasure in the Hoth system, but they encounter a witch who curses them and steals everything for herself. The witch sounded a lot like a Dathomirian Night Sister who appears in the Hoth system in the mobile game Star Wars Uprising, so this one sounds very plausible. But it also sounded like an old tale pirates would pass around. Maybe a small crew or notorious treasure went missing in the Anowit sector, and there were whispers of a Night Sister who lived nearby, so the legend of this gold-stealing witch was invented. Story number 8 was about Darth Vader and how he destroyed the city of Solace on the planet Serosha. Again, the people of that planet seem to be isolated, so they simply call him the Dark Wraith, and the surrounding cities tell their children cautionary tales where the Dark Wraith is basically the boogeyman who will come take you away if you're bad. The children of Solace eventually got to be so out of hand that the Dark Wraith destroyed the entire city. I don't think that's true at all, but I have a theory about how it could have worked out for real. We know Palpatine, Vader, and the Inquisitors were collecting Force-sensitive children for something called Project Harvester, so maybe some children really did go missing, taken by Vader or his minions, and then the people of Solace may have risen up and were destroyed for it. The story itself warns children that the Dark Wraith destroyed Solace as a warning to the other cities against rebellious behavior. That's pretty telling. At the very least, I can see Vader killing the city to put down rebellion, but I like the idea that Project Harvester also could have been involved. And the final story of the book was kind of a story within a story. A scoundrel makes up a tale about an incredible criminal with a huge bounty on her head so that a bounty hunter chasing him will shift to the more profitable target. He accidentally convinces a number of people to chase this woman that doesn't exist. All of that could have easily happened, but I think the very point of this story is to caution against doing exactly what I'm doing. Don't believe everything you hear or read. That's the moral of the story, but I can't help myself. I like looking into this stuff like they're mysteries to be pieced together, even if they're not. This might have been a completely fruitless video, but I had fun making it. Maybe I'm right about some stuff, or maybe I'm wrong about everything. Whatever. If you're interested in picking up Myths and Fables for yourself, it is available on Audible, and you can get it for free if you sign up for a trial by clicking on the link in the description or by going to www.audibletrial.com/Star Wars Explained. So there is that, but I'd honestly save your free credit for a longer book, like Black Spire coming out later this month. If you've already read Myths and Fables, I'd really love to hear what you thought of the book and the stories in the comments. Did anything jump out of you that felt true to the galaxy? I want to know. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.